What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Malazan server, and once again we are going to be working down in this big hole, only because it's really miserable on the surface. It's raining at the moment, and what we want to do is actually get work started on the auto sorting system. Now, I've got a fair few projects on the go at the moment, so trying to find time in between projects to sort of work on this one. It's been a little bit difficult. It's been put on the back burner for quite a while now, but I need to get the chests off the surface area in order to start storing them down here, so then I can start building up on the surface. Because at the moment I've got chests just dotted out, or all about on the surface bit, and yeah, trying to get round to building buildings up there while all the chests are in the way, and I know that I'm not going to be keeping the chests up there. It's just a little bit of a nightmare. So I've gone ahead and dug out a massive area for our sorting system. I've dug it all the way down to bedrock, and I'll explain why that is when we get to that point. But first of all, we need to work out exactly where our chests are going. So this one comes in 2 of the wood. We want it lined up so then it's equal. So we've got these 2 here, and then our first or final chest input is there, which means we want our output to be parallel and equal to our input. So we want that there, and then say we want the 2-way gap, should be fine. And then these ones are going to have to be every other one, because that's just the way the sorting system is. So like so, like so, like so. We want it like that. I would really like it if it lined up, but I don't think that's going to be a possibility. So we'll break this guy here, and then we can have our other ones lining up along this wall. And then we are actually going to need some blocks on us, so can we get some Junko blocks here? Thank you. And then let's just do... So we want our chest on this level, so we're just going to quickly build out a temporary little platform just coming off the edge here to throw the chests in the correct locations. Now, the storage modules of the sorting that we're going to be using is of Silent Whispers, well, primarily his design of the sorting and the clock in his system. I will put a link in the description for his tutorial on his sorting system, but unless you're going to follow his one exactly, I mean everything, the item elevators to the clock to the timer, then if you're planning on making adjustments, I'd advise making adjustments in a test world and doing a stress test on the actual sorting system before building it, because I've done some testing using different item elevators with different timers with a different sort of clock on it, and it took a lot of working around to get it working the way that I want it working. And the whole point of that is that we're using a completely different elevator system, a completely different input system. So yeah, but the main storage modules themselves are based around his design. So we want these to go up by 7, so that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and can I get some headroom here? Thank you, that would be nice. Break away then. What was we on? 5, 6. Is that 6 or 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 6. What it was. 6, and then we need just a little bit more room. So up here, and then we've got a 7. Now, is that going to be overkill for storage chests? What I may actually do is just have this back wall as an auto sorting system, and then this wall over here I'll have as single stack items, so we can have all of our armor, potions and everything in this wall, and then this main storage section can be for the auto sorting, because I don't think we're going to need that many items. That's what, 7, 14, 21, 28, 35 double chests worth of storage, plus our deep storage units, plus storage for all of our single items, and probably mass storage for shulkers and other resources. So Yeah, I think just having the 5 auto sorting storage things, and that is primarily me being lazy more than anything else, because I really don't want to have to dig all of this area out as well as doing this, and the redstone behind it, it's going to be using a fair bit of hoppers, so yeah, I don't really want to go over taxing the server by using too many hoppers. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to carry on laying out these chests, and when we get round to the redstone, I'll bring you back. Alright, and so we've got our first segment of chests in place. I actually need to craft a bunch more chests in order to bring these walls up. But I'm not too sure if I want the walls done completely in chests or if I want shulker boxes lined up as well. Because having shulker boxes lined up here for different mass materials might be a good idea, because that way I can pick them up and take them to different projects that I'll be doing. And then for these guys here, what we're going to want to do is just put a hopper into the back of each one just to get ourselves started. So what I will do with you guys is the entirety of one module, so the far right one, I'll probably build on camera with you and then just give you progress updates as to the rest of them, because otherwise it can get quite tedious and a little bit boring and very repetitive doing this sort of system, because obviously with the sort of modular design that it is, you really only need to see one to be able to see the rest, and it won't be very interesting otherwise. So what we're going to want to do is actually, let me just grab the resources that I'm going to need on me, if I can quickly remember what we are going to need. Okie doke, so we need repeaters, redstone torches, and some blocks. And torches. You take some redstone dust. We are going to need a block for building the redstone on, and I've actually got a bunch of red concrete, which I think should look pretty good should we ever want to display the sort of sorting system. If we want it built behind glass or a glass ceiling on top of it, having the redstone on a rather clean looking block would probably be a better idea. So just sort of future proofing cosmetic wise, I'm fairly sure we've got a bunch of white concrete already made up. I did actually make the white concrete for a reason, but I've just not used it for it yet, so always handy to have in this instance. Otherwise I would have preferred it being on a blue colour, but yeah, white's fine. White or blue is usually the colours I go for. So we are going to want to bring our hoppers down by 2. Can we get a little bit of wiggle room here? Do that, and this is going to be very difficult since though I've already cleared out the floor, which is a little bit of a pain. Over here, and then let's bring the floor down, so like so. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to build a little area so that you can actually see what I'm doing rather than me going back and forth. Alright then guys, so we've cleared just a little bit of room around this first module, so then it's easier for me to show you what's going on exactly, and just so we've got a little bit more light, so it's not looking too dark around here. What we're going to want to do is just behind this first hopper down here, so it'll be 2 hoppers below the main chest, so which means it's going to be that one, not that one, my mistake already. So we want a block directly behind this one here. And then what we really want to do, just to make our lives easier, is that we're just going to take this all the way up by 2. So let's just build this all the way up here. And I'll show you why that's going to make our lives easier. So if we find where that hopper is, and then the block above it, what we're going to want to do is just break this, and then just break every other one. So sort of zigzagging pattern, just so it's like a checkerboard. And then we're going to want a repeater behind each of these guys. The ones on the right, starting from this one here, is going to be, I do believe, on 2 ticks. So that's 1 and then 2. And then the ones on this side is going to be on 3 ticks. So 1, 2, 3. And then we go up and just repeat that. Okay, and then with that all done, so we've got our repeaters all the way up, alternating between 2 ticks and 3 ticks. The ones on the right 2, ones on the left 3, and then at the very tippy top on our top hopper, where it goes into our first chest, you just want a dropper facing whichever way. Doesn't really matter. This is sort of like a buffer in case you have too many items enter the system all at once, or if there's a lag spike and more items build up. It's just an extra little buffer just in case, and then this line of hoppers is going to be our input line. So if we just run that back a bit, and then we want to go back down here, and then we want to grab that concrete, and then what we want to do again is pretty much just do the exact same thing, is run an alternate line of blocks directly behind each one of these ones. So like so. And then if we can get a little bit more breathing room would be nice. We do that. Break a little bit of room here. And then we just want a zigzagging sort of torch tower. Now let me just double check to make sure that I've got the measurement right, because we need a torch tower starting 2 blocks below the first repeater section. So if our first repeater is there, what we want is to bring the concrete down from this one, question mark. So if we bring it down from here. By the way, I've designed this in my redstone test build, which I've also got up on my opposite screen. So you're just going to have to bear with me taking reference every now and again, because if I get a bit wrong, if I get a timer wrong in the separate section that I've built on top of the original design, then the entire thing is just going to be a bit of a shamble. So what we are going to want is a redstone torch starting there, and then we're going to want to break you, and then redstone torch there, and not you there, you not want there. And then we just want the redstone torches going all the way up. Now this is what is pretty much controlling the whole sorting system. Basically it's alternating redstone torches. Each one of these repeaters is then locking a separate hopper. Wrong block, guy. Do that. Redstone torch, and then a torch. And if you're worried about this redstone torch locking the hopper directly above, that is actually intended. That is to make sure that that items is not flowing into the system too quickly. And that is that section pretty much done. Now what I've got to do is repeat the exact same thing on every single module. Now what you are going to want to do, what we're going to want to do is put a block directly in line where all of these repeaters are, because obviously we need a block next to the repeater, so when it's sending the signal it's locking this corresponding hopper. But before we do that, now my plan is that I want water elevators instead of drop elevators. Now his design, he has massive drop elevators at the back, which is bringing the items back up to the next section. I actually want to be able to see the items flow up and then go to the next section, so that way when we're at the sorting system and it's sorting through items, we could then see a visual representation of the items going through, which I think is a nice little touch. But I need to decide what colour block to actually have the backing on, which means I may actually have to go off and grab some coloured wool, because I would prefer to have a blue colour behind. Or I may just make some blue concrete actually. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a little bit of a break for 2 seconds while I go and get the resources, because I didn't really think about what I wanted there. And this is a cosmetic block that I will not be able to change in the future. This is one that's just going to sort of be set in stone. And to match the sort of aquatic feel that we've got going on in here, I think having a blue or a light blue, I reckon, should look pretty decent. But yeah, I'm going to go off and do that, and I'll be back in just a sec. Alright then guys, so I finally managed to get all of the separate redstone modules in place behind there. If we can get a decent view on it. Oh, without hurting ourselves too badly. So we've got our redstone torch towers going up behind the back there, and then we've got all of the repeaters on the correct ticks that I've made sure and triple checked. So as we're going up here, what we're going to want to do, where we've got our hoppers, we're going to want to bring each one off to the right, like so. And then I've forgotten to get glass, so that's another faux pas on my part. Not prepared as usual when I start recording again. So let's quickly hop up top. I've had glass smelting because I completely ran out of it using it on other projects. Let's get right the way up to the top. Come on. And then it looks like it's finished smelting, so we should have plenty of glass now. And like I said, we've got no room. You know what, I'm just going to throw all of this garbage on the floor because I can't really be asked to deal with it right now. Do that. Thank you very much. And then we can grab our glass. Like so. That should be enough to do us for now. I'm so looking forward to being able to get rid of all of these chests into one area, so then I could just go to one place. But at the moment it's a bit of a nightmare, so head on back over to here. And then we want, we're going to have to break the top blocks of these guys out. Because, yes. And then let's just do white here for now. And then we're going to want glass. Can we get glass, please? Thank you. I want to run that all the way up to the top on each one of these, because this is where we want our water elevators coming up and down. So, like so. And like so. And I've put in some sea lanterns back there just for a bit of lighting so that we can actually see the objects in the water. Otherwise it's going to be pitch black water streams going up. And I've done a separate line of the blue concrete either side just for cosmetic sake. I'm not too sure how I'm going to be decorating this in the future, but I'm fairly sure now I'm going to have to tie into light blue concrete. So something fun to look forward to. And if we get some room up here, where we want our water elevators coming up. Now I'm not sure if you can hear it on your screen, but I think there's water like 1 or 2 blocks directly above my head, so we've got to be a little bit careful around here now. We're going to want to bring these guys up. Let's say like so. And you know what, just for symmetry's sake, we're going to bring it up there as well. And up to here also. Now there was an issue I was running into with the water elevator, where the items come up against the actual chests. Can you? Thank you. Yeah, where the items come up against the actual chests, sometimes the items will go right to the sort of left or right hand side, and then if you have a full block above the chest, the item will actually get stuck on the edge, and the only way that it will carry on going is if another item of the same type stacks up to it and drags it along with it, which is a little bit frustrating and annoying. But the only fix I could find for it was to actually use chests as a border going all the way along. So we actually are going to have to run chests going across the top of these sections. Oh, I'm not too sure about this, but this could be very bad. Not for our sorting system, I mean if there is water directly above us. But then again, all of the redstone that we've got at the moment, we've got no dust or anything, so that is not what I wanted to do. We've got no dust or anything, so it's not like it's going to get washed away. So yeah, that's fine. And then we're going to want chests to come back to here, I do believe. Yeah, all the way back to this one over here. And then we're going to have to do the same for all of them, and then what we're going to want to do is get some more glass on us, so where this comes up, it's going to be coming up over here, it can bounce up, and then it comes across into this little section here. and then we're going to have chests coming along here, and it's going to feed into this hopper here to go to the next sorting section. So the water elevator from this one will go all the way down to the bottom into a auto dropper, which will then split the items back up here to then go fed into this hopper, which leads to the next sorting section. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out all the blocks for all of this area before I even attempt to try and put the actual water in, and then we can work on the water elevator itself. So yeah, let's crack on and do that. Alright then, so I've sort of got the actual chutes for our elevators just in line down there, and the reason that we're going to be putting the water elevators so low down is because I'm going to be linking the droppers into the timer circuit for the sorting system. That way it will prevent any massive amounts of items from being thrown into certain sections at any one time, and it will keep it sort of in sync with the actual sorting system. Because what I have found is that the timings of the actual clock, if you have, or it has enough time to allow 3 items into the hopper, so the hopper can pull 3 items, but it's only given enough time to feed 2 items into each chest. So if you feed it too many items at once, it'll end up missing 1 out of every 3 items, which is something that we don't want. So to avoid that, instead of having fully auto dispensing or dropping systems, we're just going to be tying the dropping systems into the sorting timer or the sorting clock. That way it will prevent too many items being fed into one line of the sorter at any one point. And we're going to be implementing the exact same sort of dropper system up at our input chest. So after it's gone through our storage silo section, we're going to have a double chest buffer zone with the dropper sort of feeding items into the fully auto system at the same pace that it can actually sort it, rather than it being overloaded and missing 1 out of every 3 items. So I have tried to fiddle around with the timings, but unfortunately it's just the way it is on Bedrock, especially on Realms, that if you feed too many items in at the same time, it will just miss 1 out of every 3. But what we can go ahead and do is actually build the clock for this. Okay, so after that very short cut, I ended up building the entire circuit on the wrong level, and it was back to front the way that I'd built it. So we're just going to try this again then, yeah. Hopefully it goes a little bit better this time. So we want, say, a block over here with a redstone torch. Say just one here, and then a little bit of redstone dust. Oh, not that. Redstone dust just here. And then we want a repeater on 4 ticks. Repeater on 2 ticks. Oh, is that 2? It's 1, 2. And then we're going to want another block just over to here. And then we're going to want some redstone dust. And then we want another repeater, I do believe, on 4 ticks. 2, 3, 4. And then that's our timer or our clock for actually doing the repeaters. So this will actually be linked into all of these redstone torch towers. But we're also going to want to link these going downwards to our droppers. But for the time being, we actually want to switch this guy off, because we don't want that unnecessarily going on. And that way it won't actually affect the sorting system. And what I'm planning on doing now, in the tutorial that Silent Whisper's done, he has linked it onto a timer. So this is his clock, and he's linked it to a timer which will cover you for the exact amount of sections that he's got in his tutorial. Me, I'm probably just going to be linking this to a pressure plate that I stand on, because I never want it sorting while I'm here in the area with it loaded, and that's the only way to guarantee that it doesn't break. And yep, that's my phone. I always say that I put it on silent, but I never actually do. You know me too well. And that is our clock all fully done and dusted. Now what I've got to do is link that down to our droppers. Now what I'm going to be doing is having redstone torches next to the droppers, which is linked to the clock. But I'm going to be having an observer on the torches, so that way it will send 2 items instead of just the 1 on every pulse. And yeah, hopefully that should all work out well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the redstone line going downwards from our clock over to there, run glass item or glass elevator tubes up to these ones, and I'll bring you back once we're ready to throw the water in.